Hey everyone, how's it going? So I saw a movie last night. It was the name of the movie was The Tortured. I thought it was a really good movie, as I don't comment on any movies that I don't like. So, well, first of all, there was a number of things I liked about it. That it doesn't present itself as a flashback movie, like this kind of movie that's constantly, going back to the past. The only flashbacks we have are simply the memories of their child that was killed. But that doesn't constitute a flashback movie. That's just memories that they're having, since the movie is based upon their revenge that they want to get on the murderer of their son, who got a very light sentence and was a horrible serial killer. And they did not feel that was justice enough, and they wanted to torture him the way he tortured their son. As it was known, he broke many of their son's bones, and he did all sorts of tortures for many days, as the movie conveys to us. So they wanted him to suffer the same fate, and maybe even worse, and to torture him slowly, and then to kill him eventually. But the only flashback that happens really is at the very end of the movie, and that flashback scene changes a lot in the whole movie. So I thought in that sense it was unique, because the whole movie you just basically are expecting that they'll torture the killer of their son, and they'll get their revenge and he'll die, and that's it. But then all of a sudden at the end of the movie there's this whole flashback scene which changes first of all a lot of the things that we thought, and also it changes the end result of the movie. In fact, at one point I thought, remember the scene where he died, where the machine flatlined and they thought he was dead? So I thought that's when the movie was sort of coming to a close, and I thought the ending was going to be completely different. For example, he's going to die, and the law enforcement people will maybe perhaps track them down, and they're going to try to escape. And I thought maybe the ending would be that even though they're going to find him dead in the bed over there, in that cabin deep in the woods, they would find him dead, but somehow they would either escape. The couple would either escape, their actions, and they wouldn't be detected, or maybe the law enforcement would have caught them. And maybe, who knows, maybe somehow they would get out of it in court, or maybe they would go to court and then found to be innocent because there was no proof that they were the people who tortured him, perhaps. Or something like to that effect. I thought that's how the direction of the movie was going. But then, of course, we see that, he comes back to life, and all kinds of other things are happening. So basically, the whole, well, there's two pivotal points in the movie. The first pivotal point is when they were tracking him down with the binoculars. They knew, I guess, the day that he was going into that van, that he was going to actually be taken away to prison. They probably tracked it down or something. So they followed this van, and then they're looking with the binoculars, but it's far away. So they conclude that that's him. I mean, it does look a lot like him. But in fact, we see at the end of the movie that the person they saw in the binoculars wasn't really him. So, but since they thought it was him, they thought that that was the only person in the van. But in reality, we find that at the end of the movie that there were two people in the van. So that's the pivotal point of the movie, really. So the end of the movie is the second, pivotal point, which explains everything. That in fact, the person they saw with the binoculars was not him. He was most likely in the van already. The actual murderer of their son was already in the van. And the person they saw with the binoculars was a different person whose name becomes clear at the end of the movie. Someone who committed very minor offenses, and is just receiving, I don't know, I forgot exactly, but maybe 18 months in prison or maybe 6 months. I can't remember that part, but it's a very minor sentence, and he's just a minor criminal. He's not really anyone that caused anyone any pain. It was just some kind of money laundering or some kind of tax evasion. I don't remember, but it was just had something to do with money. And so it turns out that the person, so the twist is that they weren't paying attention that well. They never saw a person going out of the van. They just saw, I guess, the wife was distracted, and she saw her husband coming out of the van, and then they both noticed a man laying on the side. But his face was so bloodied, and first of all, he looked similar to the other guy, to the real criminal. But second of all, his face was so bloodied that even when they were very close to him, they couldn't really tell that it was someone else. They just assumed it was him, and they also assumed there was only one person in the van, so they didn't bother checking the van. But in fact, in reality, the real criminal, the murderer of their son, he escaped the van. So they ended up torturing someone, so the question is, right, so he couldn't, we have to also realize that in the beginning of their torture treatment to him, they made it so that he couldn't even talk. He probably wanted to say the whole time, it's not him, but he was unable to talk. And by the time finally that he was able to talk, he claimed he lost his memory. Right? He said he lost his memory, so he couldn't even say whether it was him or he didn't know who he was even. Right, so the question is, how did he know the kid's name then? Right? They was forcing him to say the name. The answer is, probably when they were torturing him, they kept on saying things, oh, you did this to Benjamin and this. So that much he remembered. He just remembered the name of their son. But the truth is, he didn't remember who he was, because had he remembered who he was, he would have emphatically said, you have the wrong person. I didn't do anything. I was just a criminal. I just did some money laundering or some money theft or some business theft or whatever that was. I forgot that exact detail, but he wasn't able to say because he didn't remember anything at all. He had complete amnesia. He didn't know. But so then when he said the name of the son, they thought, oh, okay, so it's really the whole thing he said he forgot. The couple thought that, oh, it really is him, because remember, his face was all bloody, right? But it turns out in the end that in truth it was not him at all, and the real criminal ended up escaping. And that's basically the idea. And then you feel bad because the viewer feels terrible because they tortured someone who was really probably all in all a good person. Many people have desires to do, to steal money and to, try to find shortcuts around the government, to try to maximize, their intake of financial gain. But it's not, so anyway, they got the wrong person, and then the viewer says, oh my God, all that for nothing, and he didn't end up suffering the retribution that they wanted him to suffer. And I hope you like my explanation. Thank you.